She moved across the country to disappear, but her new landlord already knew her maiden name. He said it casually while flipping through the lease at the tiny kitchen counter. So, ULL sign here, MS. Carter, or do you still use your maiden name? Hayes? Her hand froze around the pen. The room shrank to the size of the paper. She had not used Hayes in years. It was not on the application, not on her driver's license, not on the credit card she put down for the deposit. He noticed the pause. Background reports pull all kind of stuff, he added, as if that explained everything. Nothing to worry about. Just sign, and you read good. She forced a small laugh, the kind she used when HR meetings got too close to her real life. Right, just old records. She signed. The pen left a faint smear where her hand trembled. The choice sat in front of her like a forked road. Ask how he knew and risk opening doors she just slammed, or let it go and pretend she believed him. She told herself she already burned one life to the ground for secrecy. Asking questions now would be like walking back into the smoke. Thanks, she said instead. I really need a quiet place. ULL have it, he answered. We like to keep people safe here. Safe. The word should have comforted her. Instead, it felt like a hand on the back of her neck, steering. That night, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, she tried to talk herself down. Landlords ran background checks. Databases were messy. Of course, some old version of her name could float up. It was coincidence. But when she plugged in her phone, a new email waited from a local clinic she had not contacted, welcoming her as a new patient and confirming an appointment she had not made. Same last name. Correct new address. She hovered over the cancel button, heart pounding. Ask, and maybe find out someone had followed her. Do not ask, and stay invisible. She clicked nothing. She powered the phone off instead, lay on the bare mattress, and whispered to herself that this move was still hers. Downstairs, the glow from the landlord's office window stayed on long after midnight. She built her new life on rules designed to make her forget she was hiding. Walk to work, pay cash whenever possible, smile at coworkers, but not long enough for attachments. Give only the version of her story that fit on a name badge and a W-2. At first, it seemed to work. The grocery cashier learned to recognize her. The barista remembered her order. The tiny office where she filed invoices and answered phones was quiet and forgettable. But the coincidences kept showing up. On her second week, the HR manager handed her a benefits packet already filled in with her current physician listed, the same clinic that had emailed. When she said she did not have a doctor yet, the manager frowned. It shows here you've been assigned one through the network, she said. Same practice that treated you a few years ago, apparently. Must have transfer records. She had not transferred anything. That practice was 3 states away. Systems talk to each other now, the manager added with a shrug. It's good. Makes things easier. Easier for who? She wondered, walking back to her desk. Her skin prickled. She tried to loosen the net by making small, defiant choices. She skipped the assigned clinic and went to an urgent care across town for a sinus infection, paid out of pocket, and used only the name on her ID. A week later, a reminder text pinged her phone from the clinic she had not visited. We hope you feeling better after your recent visit. MS. Carter. Reply 1 to confirm. She deleted it and stopped answering unknown numbers. Each attempt to move sideways only showed her another invisible fence. The landlord stayed friendly, almost too friendly. Packages she had not mentioned arrived with perfect timing. A welcome basket from the community, a flyer for a support group that matched details she had never said out loud in this city. Once, when she came home late, she found him sweeping the stairs. Everything good? He asked. You settling in okay? Fine, she said quickly. Just tired. Good to hear. If anything feels off, you tell me. We keep a close eye on our tenants. The words were framed as care. They sounded like surveillance. She started locking the deadbolt, even when she was home. She pushed a chair under the doorknob at night, knowing it was useless, but doing it anyway. Sleep came in thin sheets, easily torn by the slightest noise. Loneliness crept in beside the fear. Old contacts were gone. She changed numbers, deleted accounts, refused to check the inbox linked to her past name. Every time she thought of texting someone from before, a memory flashed of voicemail transcripts, printouts on a table she did not own anymore, someone reading her messages out loud. So she stayed silent and tried to shrink. At work, a mandatory security training reminded employees to update their emergency contacts. When she opened the form online, one was already listed, a name she recognized from a life she'd erased. Emergency contact, clinical coordinator, behavioral health services. No phone number she knew, but the job title was too familiar to be random. She closed the browser so fast the laptop shook. Her breath came short. Whoever this was, they had access to HR, to medical records, to her address. The next day, the landlord knocked with a repair request she had not submitted. "Saw your bathroom fan was acting up when I checked the smoke detectors," he said. "Put in a work order for you." She had not known anyone had been inside. "You have keys," she answered, trying to keep her voice level. "You can just fix things without asking first." His eyebrows rose, as if she'd broken some unspoken rule. "I am required to maintain the units," he said. "You recovered here. Some people would kill for that kind of support." Support. The word landed like a weight. That night, she sat at the tiny table with a pad of paper and drew a circle for every way her new life connected to her old one. Landlord, clinic, HR forms, support flyers, emails. Lines between them turned the page into a web. In the center, she wrote one word in capital letters: control. For the first time since moving, the idea that this was all coincidence collapsed. Someone had built this web around her. She could run again, change states, change names, rent a room in a place that took cash and did not care who she'd been. Or she could find out who was holding the threads. She ripped the page in half and threw it away, but the choice stayed. By morning, the question of who had become heavier than the fear of being seen. She decided to pull just once on one thread. At lunch, instead of eating at her desk, she walked 2 blocks to a payphone that looked like it belonged in a museum. She dialed the main number for the behavioral health organization that matched the title on her HR form, gave only her current last name, and asked to speak with the clinical coordinator. "Hold, please," the receptionist said. "She want to take this." The line clicked, and a calm, familiar voice said her maiden name in full, like it had never left their records. "Been waiting for you to call," the voice added. Her knees nearly buckled. The past was not just near. It had arrived first and set out chairs. She did not remember saying yes to the meeting, but she found herself sitting in the back booth of a coffee shop, fingers wrapped so tight around a paper cup that the lid creaked. The woman who slid into the opposite seat looked exactly as she remembered. Neat cardigan, sensible shoes, eyes that missed nothing. Years ago, that gaze had watched her fill out intake forms and safety plans. Now it crossed the table like a scanner. "I am glad you're here," the woman said. "I know you do not like surprises." "Then why," she managed, "has everything in my life been one since I moved?" The woman folded her hands. "Because last time, you tried to start over alone. It nearly got you killed. We were not going to let that happen again." The word "killed" sat between them like a drop plate. The coffee shop noise dimmed. "We," she asked. "A care network," the woman said. "The clinic, a couple of agencies, some trusted landlords. People who understand patterns when someone is at high risk. When your file popped with a relocation this far away and no contact with supports, alarms went off. We used what tools we have." "Tools," she repeated. "You mean my medical records, my emergency contacts, my background checks, my landlord? He has part of a program," the woman said. "Screen providers, trauma-informed, secure buildings. He knows enough to keep you safe, not enough to hurt you. He knows my maiden name, because it is still on your chart." She almost laughed. "You built me a cage and called it care." The woman's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed soft. "We built you a net. You fell through everyone last time. I am not apologizing for wanting you alive." For a moment, a dangerous relief washed over her. It explained so much. The emails, the flyers, the way doors opened when they should have stayed closed. Someone had been watching not to punish, but to protect. Maybe she was not cursed. Maybe she was just flagged. "You cannot just ask," she said. "Tell me." "We sent letters," the woman answered. You changed addresses. We called. You changed numbers. The system does not wait forever for consent when someone is marked as high risk. We intervene. That's the model. The model. The word made her stomach twist. What do you want from me now? She asked. Very little, the woman said, sliding a folder across the table. Just signatures that make what's already happening official. Consent to share information between providers. Designate an emergency contact. Agree to certain safety plans. She looked down at the forms. The temptation was immediate and raw. Someone else managing the invisible battles, letting the network track threats before she even saw them. Her thumb ran along the edge of the pen. What happens if I do not sign? She asked. Nothing changes from what we already doing, the woman said. You just lose some benefits. This was never really about choice, she said quietly. The woman leaned forward. This is about you staying alive. She saw the path clearly. Safety with padded walls. Fewer sharp edges. No real doors. Her heart pounded. She pushed the folder back. I am not signing, she said. The woman's eyes went cold. That would be a mistake. Maybe, she answered, but it will be my mistake. She stood up on shaky legs and walked out with no victory, only terrified clarity. She just turned down the safest prison she'd ever been offered. The days after the meeting felt like walking a narrow ridge with drop-offs on both sides. Running was not freedom anymore. It was fuel for escalation. Instead of packing, she requested her own records. Reading them felt like eavesdropping on a jury that had been deliberating her fate without her in the room. At work, she set a meeting with HR and removed the emergency contact she had not chosen. For the first time, a line tied to her past vanished because she asked, not because she ran. She confronted the landlord and put boundaries in writing. That night, she drafted letters to narrow consent and revoke permissions. Weeks turned into a watched but livable rhythm. The fear did not vanish, but the awareness of choice grew beside it. She joined a small peer group, not run by systems. When HR reminded her again about emergency contacts, she added a real person she had chosen. Passing the landlord in the hallway, she finally answered honestly. Getting there, in her kitchen, she opened the window and let in ordinary city air. She had moved across the country to disappear. Instead, step by quiet step, she was learning how to exist without asking anyone's permission.